After the previous occurred incidents, Zephyr is now trying to get into the raid, for retrieving a very important artifact. For that, he joins Goth's hunting group. While Zephyr and Goth are conversing about the happened incidents, the executioners arrive at town. Goth quickly makes Zephyr bow down his head. Everyone bows their head down, and they pass through. Goth calms down, and introduces the group as Team of Heresy Examiners. Goth explains, even though they are slaves, they have special treatments, and are known for their unethical ways to get job done. Especially pointing out to Sahaku, also known as the Mad Dog. Just then, Sahaku shouts at them. While looking at them, he says he wants to ask some questions. While he points to Zephyr, he introduces himself, and asks Zephyr about his identity. Goth cuts in between, saying if there is any problem, he may talk with the team leader. But Sahaku says Goth to shut himself. Overwhelmed Goth backs out. Sahaku notices something unusual about Zephyr. He senses that Zephyr is a high-level expert, who is dressed up as a miner, which is totally unnatural. He and his team now surrounds Zephyr, wanting to ask questions to him. Sahaku asks Zephyr if he knows about a demon lord worshipper, who were the betrayers of humanity, and choose the path to worship, Demon Lord Tartarus. Sahaku says he has a special talent on finding those type of people out, and points out Zephyr is very dangerous. He threatens Zephyr, while saying he shall only tell the truth to his questions. And Zephyr replies, if it's okay, if he asks a question first, to which Sahaku allows, and Zephyr asks if they can move to a different area. He says, there are a lot of eyes on them. Zephyr mocks them, while saying, it would be unfortunate if so many people will see on what's about to happen. Simultaneously, both the parties take their stance to fight one another. Sahaku charges towards Zephyr. Both Zephyr and him trade their blows. But Zephyr, who is more experienced, blocks his attack, and lands a hit on Sahaku. He retreats, and immediately kicks Zephyr. But he didn't lay any damage to him. Zephyr throws his punches, and hits Sahaku multiple times, which leads Zephyr winning the fight. Just then, the other executioner attacks Zephyr from side, with his weapon. He tells Zephyr he too wants a fight. Zephyr mocks the other executioner too, and the executioner attacks him. But Zephyr dodges him easily. Surprised Goth is impressed, seeing Zephyr defeat Sahaku, and now being able to keep up with the others. He hopes to himself, Zephyr wins the fight. Just then, someone says it's too late for Zephyr, since a lot of time has been passed. The executioners have charged up their special ability, called Red Aura. Sahaku charges towards Zephyr again, but this time, he is able to dodge Zephyr, and even lands hits on him. Sahaku was just getting cocky, but Zephyr knocks him out again. The other executioner attacks Zephyr, but this time Zephyr is pissed. He uses his buffs, and attacks the executioner with his own weapon. Everyone is shocked, seeing an ordinary miner defeating such skilled group alone. Defeated Sahaku asks Zephyr to tell him his identity, to which Zephyr refuses, saying he doesn't deserve to know that. As all this was happening, someone was observing the entire scene, who was also shocked seeing what just happened. Pissed Sahaku yells at Zephyr, while he goes on minding his own business. Just then, Zephyr freezes, and trembles down. He faces mana freezing, due to excessive use of his skills. The spirit Shylock appears, and comes to collect the debts for the Iron Wall skill. It is revealed, even though the skill appears OP, it works as in debt, for the user. Given by the god of Lone Urza. The skill works until the user's mana has reached 0, and if it does reach 0, it costs their life for using the skill excessively. Shylock begins the debt collection. Zephyr starts to feel his body becoming heavier. He immediately brings out his emergency potion, and drinks it just in time, before the debt could have been collected, which results in the cancellation of debt collection. Zephyr smirks as he is able to overcome the situation, and flips to the god of Lone, who gets furious being not able to finish off Zephyr. Zephyr had lost his consciousness, and he wakes up in an unknown place. He is greeted by the nun, and realizes he is tied up for the organ harvesting, due to the loan he had taken. The nun tells Zephyr he is overdue by an hour for his loan period. She brings out a knife and threatens Zephyr, if he would pay his debts or not. Zephyr, not being able to use his skills, says his clearance reward will be given next week. The nun says she has heard about what Zephyr was doing in meantime, like taking daily loans and his dungeon being a cobalt dungeon. She questions how can he be able to pay off the debts with that. She orders the 2 other guys to hold off Zephyr's hands. And she threatens to cut one of his finger off, for him to remember. Zephyr yells her to stop. But she orders the guys to cut off his finger. Just then, Zephyr says out a name. The shocked nun tells them to stop at the last moment. She questions who Zephyr is, and orders the guys to get out of the room. The nun questions, how does Zephyr know that name he just yelled out? Zephyr answers, it's not hard to know that name, while addressing the nun as White Rose, the monster broker. The nun had 2 sides of work. She was a nun for the temple, most of the time. But her other side of work is a monster, and equipment broker, with the alias, White Rose. Zephyr plans to make deals with her to gain stronger equipments for his raids in future. Back to Sahaku, who is admitted, is totally pissed and throws away the food he was offered. He thinks about taking revenge on Zephyr, for what he has done to him. Just then the mysterious person from earlier, now revealed as Ned, comes to check on Sahaku. He tells the others to give them some privacy, and continues to question Sahaku. He tries to apologize to his higher-up saying, it's nothing to be worried about. He is met up with a dagger near his mouth. Ned continues to question him, saying the incident is being discussed all throughout the town, which is bringing shame to their group. Sahaku gets his mouth sliced by Ned, for being beaten like that. Ned says that he is becoming useless by each passing day, and if this continues, there is no path for him. Sahaku begs Ned for another chance. Ned comes towards him saying, restore the respect that he had lost today. Ned throws a wrapped item in cloth towards him, which contained the Demon Lord worshipper's equipments. Sahaku questions about the item, and Ned replies, it's his choice to use it or not, to accomplish his mission. Ned leaves the room while saying all that to Sahaku. He totally plans to use the item against Zephyr, and win no matter what. Ned asks one of his men to keep an eye on Sahaku. It is revealed Ned and his man are the Demon Lord worshippers, who took Sahaku in, to raise less suspicions on him and his group. Ned also tells his man to keep an eye on Zephyr too, who had used a very secret technique, which only 4 people knew including him. Back to Zephyr and the nun making deals, where the nun is totally shocked, seeing the loot Zephyr had acquired. Zephyr asks if she likes it. The nun gets excited and lists out the items, which they were going to sell. For the items Zephyr had requested, he would need to capture 3 more predators, in order to fulfill the contract. Zephyr asks for 3 weeks in order to do that. But before leaving, Zephyr asks for another favor to the nun, which was for giving him a liquor. Back at town, Goth and his group are having a meal, where now Goth, without his helmet, asks everyone to introduce themselves. Marco introduces himself first, followed by Dale, who has a suspicious look towards Zephyr. Goth introduces Zephyr to the team, as the newcomer, and toasts for their new start, while everyone is in a weird situation. Everyone is confused, in the awkward situation they are in, questioning things to themselves. Zephyr says he has something to say first. He brings out an expensive drink to enjoy with them. Everyone is shocked and excited for the drink. Zephyr and his new group toasts, and start to get friendly with one another. Zephyr knows how to work with Goth, since he has already worked with him, in his past life. But for the other members, he has no idea, on what to expect from them. Zephyr thinks to work with them, as a reliable person, so that, he could gain their trust and respect. But doubts about Dale, who also doesn't want him around. Earlier, Goth made sure to discuss about Zephyr to his team members, so that, they are able to get along together. But both Marco and Dale, don't believe that Zephyr had saved them from the dungeon. While discussing, Dale and Goth get into a heated argument. But Marco makes them calm down, and says since the decision has already been taken, let it be. But even after all that, Dale doesn't trust him even a tiny bit, and thinks he is just there to scam them. Dale hopes everything comes to light about Zephyr, when they go into a real expedition.